Hello there, I'm Begalius. And Marathon. It's marathon time. My favourite part of Marathon was when Marathon Man just marathoned all over the place. No, it still sounds super gross. That's Marathon is here. Bungie's new game. We're all excited. All 5 of us. It's got a fairly healthy player count. But the thing about Marathon, personally speaking, and these, reviews, my reviews, they come from a personal place, like how was my experience with the game or whatever. And I have to say that as someone who's now played Marathon, that it's simultaneously made for me, perfect, and also absolutely categorically not made for me in any way, shape or form. And unfortunately, the prevailing sentiment here is the not made for me. It really does outweigh the made for me part in quite a robust way. Unfortunately, it's a game that has a lot to love, but is just so flawed fundamentally that it's not for me. It's really not for me, this game. And by the looks of it, it's not for a lot of people. Now, it has done tremendously well, but I think a lot of people are just not happy with this game, with the experience, and maybe just a little bit let down by the promise versus the expectation, or the delivery versus the expectations. And I get that. I feel that. So I'm going to tell you exactly what it was that I loved about this game, that I absolutely adored about this game. And that is the way it presents itself, the overall, the art style, the little videos, the vignettes, the narrative stuff. Mwah, chef's kiss. Thank you, Bungie, for really trying in this field. Man, it's cool. This game oozes style. Oh my god, it oozes style out of its arsehole. That wasn't necessary. Absolutely, though. What a stylish game. Wow. It is so cool to look at. And exactly the aesthetic that I love to see. And you have these freaky talking heads from that Seal Killer video, just music video. It's so cool. Great song, by the way. But yeah, you have these glitched up found footage moments. It really feels like Bungie realizing the promise that they made with the original Marathon games and some of the Halo stuff. And of course, I have a deep legacy with Halo, and I'm seeing a lot of that here. That found footage, glitchy stuff, and it's done so beautifully, so perfectly. And I love the menus. In terms of visual design, I like the menus. In terms of actual architecture and how they're structured, I don't like the menus in any way, and I don't think anyone else would. I'm talking about the main menu and where you go to from there and stuff like that. It does have a very pretty look to it, but the visual language and the communication just isn't there with a game like this. But the worlds, they're gorgeous, varied. I say varied, actually. No, I completely disagree with that. They're beautiful. Color-wise, they're varied, and they have a lot of variation within the maps. You'll be outdoors, and it'll be foggy, and then you go indoors, and it's bathed in neon lights and stuff like that. But from map to map to map, actually, I wouldn't say that they look overly, crazy different. What can you do? Especially nowadays, now that video games are so realistic and detailed, how can you make it look different from zone to zone? Although I do think that this game is style over realism. Style-wise, again, I love the way that it looks, but that does extend to the locations. They feel like they could potentially be places, but not really. They're too stylized to actually really feel that way. And I prefer it that way. I want a game that's giving me something different visually rather than something that's just trying to look real. And that keeps things fresh and exciting. And so, again, I think visually this game is hitting a home run. Amazing. I think the weapons feel pretty good. Some of the glitchy hit marks and stuff like that don't really do it for me. But yeah, I do think that the weapons look and feel good. Animations wise, kind of generic, standard, nothing crazy. And I wouldn't say in terms of visual fidelity, they've got crazy stuff going on. But I do think the way the weapons look blends well with the environments, and that's great. And I think the enemies are really cool. They look threatening. They look dangerous. Yeah, they come at me, and I do feel I've got to defend myself. or they're coming at a teammate. Now, I've got to defend the teammate. That's great. Yeah, they do a really great job with that. But that is about as far as my compliments go. And as you can tell, again, it's all just design stuff. It's typical Bungie. Ever since Destiny, they've always put style over substance, and the visuals of a game really do carry it when it comes to these Bungie games. The Destiny ones, Destiny 1 and 2, it was always the visuals that really carried the games, and they did create beautiful immersive worlds, and that was kind of the point, right? The point of Destiny was to get sucked into this beautiful world and then shoot some things in it, and they did that. They nailed that. But when it comes to a game like Marathon, there's more going on in terms of gameplay. I don't mean more encounters. It's deeper, more complex, more nodes, more trees, more avenues, more ways to approach things, and I think that you can't just let a beautiful world carry that when you have such a complex way of creating a game. And this is one of the more complex ways. It's an extraction shooter a la, Arc Raiders and Tarkov and things like that. When they are more complex than what we're used to. I know that people act like Destiny broke the mold with the MMO Lite formula, but really it wasn't anything crazy or overly new, or anything really that Borderlands wasn't doing before it, other than just making it online. So this is the first time that they've really done something that feels actually complex in terms of multiplayer gameplay structure. And again, I don't think the world was able to carry that for me, because when I'm playing this game, I'm going, oh my god, this looks amazing. I'm so bored. And I don't know, man. Doesn't do it for me. I'm not a fan of One Life games as it is. I'm not really a big fan I was never a fan of battle royales. It takes too long to queue just for you to wait for something to happen. And then, you get shot and you die. In terms of extraction shooters, I think I prefer them to battle royale, because you can just go out of it without really coming across an encounter. It's more about what you do in the world than, you're going to encounter someone, you have a 1 in 99 chance of actually surviving to the end, and that's not the case here. It's you can extract and you can go. I mean, I play Helldivers 2 a lot, and I think that's a fantastic game. I just recently got into it, but yeah, and that's technically an extraction shooter, and I love that, and so I do fuck with extraction shooters, and I like the idea of this tense thing where you're in there and you have your loot, and you could lose all of your loot, and if you encounter an enemy and it doesn't go your way, I think that's a really cool way of adding tension to a multiplayer experience and making it feel more in depth. However, it's just not hitting. I don't know what to tell you. I think maybe the gameplay does feel very slow. It had to, it's just slower encounters. But I feel like I'm spending a lot of time just sort of hanging around, not really getting all that much done in this game. I do think, like a lot of people have said, the TTK is very quick. I'm getting melted immediately by enemies and just getting knocked down, and it feels like I don't really have that chance to extract and leave with other people. So I just feel I don't know, man, there's little pockets of areas where it's dangerous, but the rest of it, I'm just circling around, just running around, picking up garbage. And I think that maybe the game would open up more for me if, I had a larger backpack and I was able to get into, really into the depths of it and collect more loot and collect more stuff. But I look and there's 4 maps. I just know along the way with those 4 maps, I'm just going to get bored, getting there. Getting to be good with the game and getting to learn the game. Whereas with Helldivers, it feels I know it's the same biomes, but it feels like an infinite supply of different things to do in maps and areas and stuff. And there are lots of things to do here. There's contracts, but it just doesn't feel deep enough for me to think that there's enough meat on the bone for me to get to core with this game. And along the way, I was almost falling asleep last night trying to play this thing. I was just so bored. And that is a bad sign. I think that's a bad thing. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is gorgeous. I just wish I liked this game. I wish I was into it. I wish I enjoyed it, but I just don't think there's enough to carry what I don't think is a particularly exciting experience along for me to justify this. And then, of course, we get into the fact of that this is not free. And just like games like Arc Raiders, but I've heard that there's just not as much content. I've never played Arc Raiders, but there's not as much content here as Arc Raiders or Tarkov or something like that. But just all in all, personally speaking, I wouldn't pay for a game like this. There are better, more in-depth free-to-play games out there, and I know that Delta Force has a extraction shooter that's free. And I know that most extraction shooters cost money, but there just isn't much here. And like I said, I paid for Helldivers, but with Helldivers, there's just so much meat on the bone, there's so much to do, and there just isn't that there currently with Marathon. And of course, my final issue would be, and this is a big one for me, and one of the reasons I didn't go for this, the fact that your ranks reset every season. I'm not into that at all. It's not for me. Having to, invest like 50, 100, 150, 200 hours into a game just for your rank to completely reset and everything to just go because the game decided that it would is not for me. I know a lot of people are into it, but I can't stand that shit. I cannot stand that shit at all. But investing a bunch of time into a game just for it to take that all away from you because the game decided that that's what it wants to do is just a piss take in my opinion. But that's just me. That's my opinion. And that's what and that's what I think of Marathon. It could have been good, and it has a lot going for it. And if you're into this style of game, then maybe it could be for you, but for me, not at all. Sorry. Perhaps if it was free, I would have given it a real go, a real go at it. But as things stand now, I'm not going to pay for a game like this when A, I could just buy Arc Raiders, which is apparently better, and B, it's just not giving me anything. It's boring me. So I'm not going to. Those are my thoughts on Marathon. I'll see everyone later.
PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.